As the journey through these creations comes to an end, take a quiet moment to look around your own garden, or even the small corner of green that belongs to you. Perhaps it is only a balcony with a single plant, or maybe a wide backyard filled with soil and sun. No matter the size, it is a canvas waiting for your touch. We have walked together through lanterns born from jars, houses imagined from stone and soil, fairy doors shaped by twigs, and borders that glisten with glass. We have seen how broken pots can hold entire landscapes, how teacups can invite birds, and how even the soft music of spoons can carry through the air. Each idea was simple, yet in its own way, each was magical. The beauty of these projects is not only in the objects themselves, but in what they awaken within us. They remind us that nothing is too small to be transformed, that waste is only another word for possibility, and that creativity is not about perfection but about love, care, and imagination. When your hands shape these pieces, you are not just making decorations. You are weaving stories into your space. Stories that bring joy to children, rest to the weary, and delight to anyone who steps into your garden. There is something quietly magical about light when they have brought you calm or sparked a new idea. Jar, once filled with jam or pickles, here at Verdo Studio we share not just projects but moments of beauty, falls in the air creation at a time. These recycled lanterns begin to glow with us, and not only lighting your path but also carrying a story of transformation. Subscribe to join our circle. That beauty often hides, and together we will keep finding magic in the simplest things. Gather jars of different shapes and sizes. Mason jars, jam jars, or even those forgotten containers at the back of your cupboard will work. Wash them clean and let their surfaces shine in the sunlight. For a rustic touch, wrap thin wire around the rims and fashion small handles so they can hang gracefully from branches, fences, or hooks. Inside you have a choice. A simple tea light candle creates a flickering warmth, while small battery-powered fairy lights give a safer, steady glow that lasts through the night. The trick is to play with placement. Hang a row of lanterns along a garden path to guide footsteps, or cluster them together in a quiet corner to create a pocket of calm where you can sit and breathe. Don't be afraid to decorate the jars themselves. A little lace, twine, or pressed leaves taped to the glass can change the mood instantly. And remember, these lanterns are not only for summer nights. In winter, they can be filled with pine cones and fairy lights, bringing comfort even to the coldest evenings. With just a handful of jars, your garden becomes more than a patch of earth. It becomes a stage where light dances, reminding you that nothing is ever truly wasted. In every garden, there is a quiet corner that longs for a touch of wonder. What if that corner could become a doorway to a story? A hobbit nook, small and earthy, built from nothing more than soil and stone, can transform your garden into a scene from a timeless tale. To create this charming retreat, start with the land itself. Choose a mound of earth or build one by layering soil into a gentle rise. This becomes the canvas for your hobbit home. Smooth the surface and press stones firmly into the soil to form walls, stacking them like puzzle pieces until they hold together with natural strength. A round door is essential, cut from scrap wood or even an old lid painted in earthy tones. Place it at the center where it seems to invite you in. The roof is where magic settles. Cover it with moss, creeping plants, or soft grass to blur the line between house and nature. Soon, it will look as though the home has always been there, tucked away under the sky. Add a small window frame, perhaps from leftover twigs, and scatter miniature mushrooms or wildflowers around the entrance to deepen the fairy tale feeling. This project is not only for the eye but also for the heart. It gives children a world to imagine in, a place where stories take root as easily as flowers. For adults, it is a gentle reminder that play belongs to every age. As evening falls, place a lantern near the door, and your hobbit nook will glow softly under the stars. It is proof that with stone, soil, and a little imagination, even the smallest garden can hold the spirit of adventure. In every garden, there is a quiet corner that longs for a touch of wonder. What if that corner could become a doorway to a story? A hobbit nook, small and earthy, built from nothing more than soil and stone, can transform your garden into a scene from a timeless tale. To create this charming retreat, Start with the land itself. Choose a mound of earth or build one by layering soil into a gentle rise. This becomes the canvas for your hobbit home. Smooth the surface and press stones firmly into the soil to form walls, stacking them like puzzle pieces until they hold together with natural strength. A round door is essential, cut from scrap wood or even an old lid painted in earthy tones. Place it at the center where it seems to invite you in. The roof is where magic settles. Cover it with moss, creeping plants, or soft grass to blur the line between house and nature. Soon, it will look as though the home has always been there, tucked away under the sky. Add a small window frame, perhaps from leftover twigs, and scatter miniature mushrooms or wildflowers around the entrance to deepen the fairy tale feeling. This project is not only for the eye but also for the heart. It gives children a world to imagine in, a place where stories take root as easily as flowers. For adults, it is a gentle reminder that play belongs to every age. As evening falls, place a lantern near the door, and your hobbit nook will glow softly under the stars. Every garden holds a secret or two, and sometimes all it needs is a door to let the imagination wander. A fairy door, crafted from twigs you collect on quiet walks, can transform an ordinary tree trunk into an entryway to another world. The beauty of this idea lies in its simplicity. It uses what nature offers freely, and it stirs childlike wonder in anyone who sees it. Begin by gathering twigs of similar thickness. Choose ones that are dry and sturdy, with natural textures that tell their own stories. Cut them to the desired length and lay them side by side, forming a small door. Use glue, thin wire, or even twine to hold the pieces together. For a touch of whimsy, shape the top into a gentle arch or add a crossbar to mimic rustic cottage doors. The details bring the magic alive. A tiny pebble can serve as a doorknob, while miniature hinges made of wire give the illusion of function. Place your finished door at the base of a tree, along a garden wall, or even leaning against a flower pot. Let moss and small plants creep around it, softening the edges so it feels as if it has always belonged there. Children will kneel down to peer closely, whispering questions about who might live inside. Adults, too, will pause, allowing a smile to grow at the thought of hidden worlds. And perhaps, in the evening when you place a lantern nearby, the shadows will dance across the wood, making the doorway glow as if it truly leads somewhere. This small creation asks for little, just patience, twigs, and your imagination. Yet it gives back much more. A reminder that wonder often waits right at our feet, disguised as the ordinary. A simple bottle, once meant to be thrown away, can become a vessel of imagination. With a little soil, some greenery, and a touch of creativity, it can be transformed into a tiny fairy garden, an entire world cradled within glass or plastic. It is a reminder that beauty does not ask for grand materials, only a willing hand to see beyond the ordinary. Start by choosing bottles of different shapes. Plastic soda bottles or glass wine bottles work equally well. Cut them carefully. Some can be sliced lengthwise to form open troughs, while others can be cut at the side to make miniature hanging planters. Smooth the edges for safety, and you now have the perfect container for a fairy-sized garden. Fill the bottle with soil, then tuck in small plants like moss, succulents, or creeping thyme. These thrive in small spaces and bring a lush carpet of green. For the fairy touch, add miniature details. Tiny doors crafted from bark, little chairs made of twigs, or even pebbles laid as stepping stones. Each bottle becomes its own story, a window into a world of wonder. You can place these fairy gardens on shelves, line them along your pathway, or hang them from fences where they sway gently in the breeze. At night, string fairy lights around them so they twinkle softly, creating the feeling of a secret village glowing under the stars. The joy of bottle fairy gardens lies not just in their charm but in their endless possibilities. Every garden has a path, but not every path tells a story. An enchanted walkway transforms a simple route into a journey, inviting footsteps to slow, eyes to wander, and hearts to soften. It does not require expensive materials. Instead, it thrives on what you already have: stones, pebbles, wood, even bottle caps waiting for a second life. Begin with the outline. Sketch a winding path rather than a straight one, for curves naturally spark curiosity. Lay down stones, wooden slices, or gravel to form the base. Each material has its own charm. Stones feel timeless, wood brings warmth, and mosaics made of old bottle caps or broken tiles add a splash of color that glimmers when touched by sunlight. Lighting is what turns a walkway into something truly enchanted. Line the edges with solar lanterns, repurposed jars, or even small candles safely placed inside glass containers. As evening falls, the glow guides each step and makes the garden feel like a realm beyond the everyday. Plants add life to the borders. Choose low flowers like marigolds or creeping herbs that release fragrance as you brush past. For extra whimsy, tuck in tiny decorations: fairy doors at tree bases, small stones painted with symbols, or wind chimes that sing softly when the breeze flows. Walking down such a path is not only about moving from what once seemed destined for the recycling bin can, with just a little care, become a piece of living art. Rusty cans, those humble containers long forgotten, have a way of softening when paired with plants. The rough metal, marked by time, contrasts beautifully with the plump, vibrant life of succulents. Together, they tell a story of resilience and renewal. To begin, gather cans in different sizes. Coffee tins, paint cans, or even small food cans will all work. Clean them thoroughly, leaving some of the natural rust and patina for character. Drill a few holes at the bottom for drainage. Succulents love well-drained soil, and this step is essential. Fill each can with a sandy soil mix, then tuck in your chosen plants. Echeveria, aloe, and jade thrive in such settings, their unique shapes spilling gracefully over the edges. What makes this project special is the freedom to play with arrangement. Line them up along a wooden fence for a rustic display, or stack them into a tiered tower that rises like a sculpture from the earth. Mix small trailing varieties with larger statement succulents to create balance. Over time, the plants will grow fuller, and the metal will continue to weather, deepening the contrast between fragility and strength. These planters ask for very little, just occasional watering and sunlight. Yet they reward you endlessly, adding charm and texture to your garden. In the evening light, the rusty tones glow warmly, and the fleshy greens look almost luminous. A rustic and succulent sculpture is proof that beauty does not come from perfection. There is joy in color, especially when it bursts from unexpected places. Bottle caps and broken tiles, usually overlooked as trash, can be pieced together into mosaics that brighten your garden with playful patterns. Each fragment, each cap, carries its own hue, and when they meet, they create something whole and radiant. Begin by collecting caps in all shades: reds from soda bottles, blues from water jugs, silvers from old cans. Add in broken ceramic pieces or leftover tiles for extra texture. The more variety you gather, the richer the final picture will feel. Clean each piece, then plan your design: a simple spiral, a row of flowers, or even abstract bursts of color. For pathways, lay the pieces directly into wet cement or a mortar base, pressing them firmly until they sit flush with the surface. For smaller projects, like tabletops or garden stepping stones, use strong outdoor adhesive and finish with a clear sealant to protect against weather. Walls and fences, too, can become canvases for your mosaics, turning once plain surfaces into art that sings with color. The beauty lies not in precision but in play. Children may want to place a few pieces, adding their own mark. Neighbors will notice the shimmer when sunlight hits the caps just right. At dusk, when lanterns light your garden, the mosaic glows gently, reminding you that what was once waste is now a story. There is a quiet elegance in turning something rough and forgotten into a structure of life. A wooden pallet, once used to carry heavy loads, can be reborn as a vertical garden wall, a living canvas that grows greener with every season. It is a simple idea, yet it gives even the smallest space the feeling of abundance. To begin, find a pallet with strong, evenly spaced slats. Sand it lightly to remove splinters, but let some of the rugged character remain. Secure landscape fabric or burlap across the back and bottom of each row to create planting pockets. Fill these with soil, gently pressing herbs, succulents, or flowers into place. Water slowly at first, allowing the plants to settle into their new vertical home. The beauty of a pallet wall lies in its versatility. In a small garden, it saves precious ground space while still offering the joy of greenery. On a balcony, it becomes a privacy screen woven with leaves and blossoms. For those who love cooking, fill it with basil, thyme, mint, and parsley. The aroma alone will turn meal preparation into a delight. Over time, the wood will weather naturally, deepening in color, while the plants spill over, softening every edge. Vines may trail down, flowers will bloom, and the palette will disappear under a tapestry of life. In the evenings, string fairy lights across the frame, and it will glow softly, a garden wall that feels both rustic and enchanted. This project teaches us something gentle yet powerful, that walls do not need to divide. They can hold life, invite beauty, and remind us that even the plainest wood can bloom again when placed in the hands of care. Once these chairs held people. Now they hold flowers. There is something tender about giving an old chair a second life, transforming it into a throne where blooms sit proudly as if they were royalty. What was once a place for rest becomes a stage for color and growth. To create your own flower throne, start with any chair you no longer need, wooden, metal, or wicker. If the seat is worn or broken, remove it and replace it with a pot that fits snugly in the frame. Or simply line the hollow with landscape fabric and fill it directly with soil. This becomes the heart of your planter, ready to cradle new life. Choose flowers that trail and spill with abundance. Petunias, nasturtiums, and ivy flow gracefully over the edges, softening the structure of the chair. Taller blooms like marigolds or snapdragons can rise proudly in the middle, creating layers of height and texture. A coat of paint, perhaps in soft pastels or bold rustic shades, can transform the chair itself into part of the art. Arrange your throne where it can surprise and delight. Place it at the entrance of your garden as a welcoming seed of flowers, or tuck it into a quiet corner where it feels like a secret waiting to be discovered. Over time, the plants will grow fuller, and the chair will seem almost alive, its form and the flowers. Sometimes beauty reveals itself in what is broken. A shattered pot, instead of being discarded, can be reborn as a miniature terraced garden, an entire landscape captured within a small clay vessel. Its cracks and missing pieces become steps, walls, and pathways where new life quietly grows. To create one, begin with a broken terracotta or clay pot. Rather than seeing the damage as loss, treat each fragment as a building block. Stack larger shards against the inner wall of the pot to form terraces, securing them in place with soil. These layers become platforms where you can plant small succulents, moss, or herbs. Each level creates a different pocket of green, giving the illusion of a hillside tucked inside your garden. Add details that bring the story to life. A winding path of pebbles can snake between the terraces. A miniature fairy house or tiny figurines can rest at the top, as though overlooking a secret kingdom. Low-growing plants like moss soften the sharp edges of the clay, while trailing vines spill gently over the sides, making the pot look alive with movement. Place your terraced pot where the sun can kiss it daily. Over time, the plants will spread and fill the gaps, and the pot will seem less like a container and more like a landscape frozen in miniature. It is a piece that invites people to lean close, to peer into its layers, and to marvel at how much wonder can bloom from something once broken. In this small act, the garden whispers a lesson, that even in pieces, life continues to grow. A broken pot does not mark an ending, but a chance to hold a new world inside its fractured walls. Water brings a rare kind of calm to a garden. Its stillness reflects the sky, and its gentle ripples draw life closer. With nothing more than an old tire, you can create a pond, a small sanctuary where lotus and lilies bloom, where dragonflies visit, and where the garden feels more alive. Start by choosing a sturdy tire, perhaps from a car or tractor. Place it where you want your pond to rest. Then dig slightly into the soil so the tire nestles firmly into the ground. Line the inside with strong waterproof plastic, pressing it carefully to avoid gaps. Fill it with clean water, and the transformation begins. Now comes the joy of planting. Add lotus, lilies, or other aquatic plants that thrive in shallow ponds. Their broad leaves float across the surface, creating patterns of green against the water's mirror. For extra character, arrange smooth stones around the edge, blending the tire into the landscape. You may even place small pebbles inside, giving fish or frogs a resting place. If sunlight reaches the pond, the plants will flourish quickly. Dragonflies will hover above, dipping gracefully into the water, and birds may stop by for a drink. In the evenings, the pond reflects lanterns and the fading glow of the day, becoming a quiet pool of light. Tire pond is proof of possibility. Something once destined for waste, heavy and black, becomes a cradle for flowers and life. Place it in a garden corner, and you will soon find yourself pausing there often, watching ripples, listening to the hum of insects, and feeling peace in the simple presence of water. It is not just a pond. It is a reminder that beauty is born when we allow life to return where none seemed possible. Glass has a way of catching the light, turning the simplest of objects into jewels. Old bottles, once tossed aside, can be reborn as garden borders that shimmer with color and character. Arranged carefully in the soil, they not only frame your flower beds or pathways, but also bring a touch of enchantment that shifts with the sun. To begin, gather bottles of similar height, or mix colors and shapes for a more playful look. Green wine bottles, brown beer bottles, or even clear soda bottles all work beautifully. Clean them thoroughly, then dig shallow trenches where you want your border to run. Place each bottle upside down into the soil, pressing firmly so that they stand stable and even. The magic happens when the sun touches them. Morning light glows softly through the glass, while afternoon rays cast vibrant reflections onto the ground. At dusk, the bottles seem to hold the day's last colors within them, glowing quietly as the garden darkens. Borders like these are more than decoration, they are functional too. They mark the edges of pathways, protect flower beds from wandering feet, and even help retain soil. Over time, the bottles weather into the landscape, their glossy surfaces softened by rain and earth, yet always catching glimmers of light. This is a project of patience and rhythm, bottle by bottle, row by row. It requires little cost but offers endless reward. A border that feels handmade, intentional, and filled with story. Each bottle is a reminder of transformation, that what once held liquid now holds light, and that beauty often comes when we choose to see possibility. Driftwood carries the memory of water. Shaped by tides and time, each piece is unique, curved, smoothed, and worn into forms that seem almost sculpted. When brought into the garden, driftwood becomes more than a relic of the shore. It becomes a cradle for plants, a hanging planter that marries earth and sea. To create your own, find a piece of driftwood with natural hollows or knots. If none exist, You can gently carve shallow spaces to hold soil. Line these pockets with moss to help retain moisture, then nestle in small plants such as succulents, air plants, or ferns. They thrive with little soil and adapt beautifully to the organic shapes of the wood. Suspend the driftwood with strong rope or twine, letting it dangle from a sturdy tree branch, pergola, or porch beam. As it sways gently in the breeze, it carries a living softness, a touch of wilderness that feels at once rustic and elegant. Over time, vines may creep along the wood, blurring the line between plant and planter, until it looks as though the driftwood itself has come back to life. The charm of driftwood hanging planters is not only their beauty but their sense of story. Each piece once floated freely, carried by currents. Now it rests in your garden, holding life again. The textures of the weathered wood, the fresh greens of the plants, and the movement of air all weave together into something that feels timeless. Hang a single piece as a focal point, or arrange several at different heights to create a mobile of living sculptures. However you choose, they will whisper of the sea and remind you that even things once lost to the water can find new roots under the sky. Driftwood carries the memory of water. Shaped by tides and time, each piece is unique, curved, smoothed, and worn into forms that seem almost sculpted. When brought into the garden, driftwood becomes more than a relic of the shore. It becomes a cradle for plants, a hanging planter that marries earth and sea. To create your own, find a piece of driftwood with natural hollows or knots. If none exist, you can gently carve shallow spaces to hold soil. Line these pockets with moss to help retain moisture, then nestle in small plants such as succulents, air plants, or ferns. They thrive with little soil and adapt beautifully to the organic shapes of the wood. Suspend the driftwood with strong rope or twine, letting it dangle from a sturdy tree branch, pergola, or porch beam. As it sways gently in the breeze, it carries a living softness, a touch of wilderness that feels at once rustic and elegant. Over time, vines may creep along the wood, blurring the line between plant and planter, until it looks as though the driftwood itself has come back to life. The charm of driftwood hanging planters is not only their beauty but their sense of story. Each piece once floated freely, carried by currents. Now it rests in your garden, holding life again. The textures of the weathered wood, the fresh greens of the plants, and the movement of air all weave together into something that feels timeless. Hang a single piece as a focal point, or arrange several at different heights to create a mobile of living sculptures. However you choose, they will whisper of the sea and remind you that even things once lost to the water can find new roots under the sky.